All right, today we've got something very interesting here. We're going to be speaking to three Republican voters against Donald Trump. We're going to be speaking with Robert Nix, Damian Salmon, and Kyle Sweetser. Kyle has been on the program before, so you may recognize him. Really appreciate the three of you joining me. You're all in different parts of the country. I'm curious whether you have different reasons for the decision you've made that you are not supporting Donald Trump this election. So, Robert, maybe we start with you. What attracted you to Trump originally, and what has turned you off from Trump?
Well, I was a Republican for 44 years, for 36, coming into 2016, and I wasn't attracted to him at all. I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. He's not going to get the nomination. There's this crowded field of Republicans. And then I was flabbergasted when he did. But as a Republican that long, I thought I had apprehensions, but I went ahead and thought, well, Hillary Clinton's the devil, and then I'll give this guy a try. And right away, I realized I'd made a mistake into it right as he took office. But yeah, I never really was into it. I just thought, well, I'm given a choice between a Democrat and Republican in 2016, and I went with the Republican, thinking, and I was apprehensive. I didn't ever like him. I thought, no way will he be the nominee, but he turned out to be, and I supported the ticket as a Republican.
So, from the get-go, you were sort of a reluctant Trump supporter.
Oh, yes, I was. I thought it would be ridiculous. I thought it would be absurd. And then I watched in horror as that field winnowed down little by little till it was just him. And I didn't, I just thought, well, I support the ticket. I mean, I'm a Republican for this many years, for decades, and I'll give him a shot. And no, after that, once he took office, I realized I'd made a big mistake.
Was there anything in particular he did or said? Was it policy or was it style?
It was both his character, his lack of character, but also he began a pattern of undermining the Constitution by avoiding all accountability from whether he sort of made a mockery of the rule of law, checks and balances. He started denigrating the free press so that it made it look like they were always lying and they were the enemy and the fake news, and all of those are important parts of our Constitution. And then obviously after when he was running again in 2020, he did, and he lost. He did worse. He did a lot worse. He perpetrated the big lie, started an insurrection, and it's only gotten worse since. So yeah, my support for him ended right away in 2017.
Damien, how about you? Talk to me a little bit about your path in, if there was one, but then kind of what ultimately did it for you.
Well, I mean, this is back in 2016. I couldn't be more than opposite of Robert. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was into the self-funded election stuff, self-funded commercials, the whole nine yards. I liked that. I liked the drain the swamp. I liked his rhetoric. I didn't mind the way he spoke because I mean, I was in the army at the time, and it didn't seem all that bad to me. So, I mean, whatever. We moved on with our lives. Through that time, I watched, from 2016 to 2020, watched him be impeached twice. I watched him. I mean, I really thought the country was extremely divided under that time. And I just thought there was no reason to support this man anymore. He started not telling the truth and lying. But I mean, I was a big supporter at first, until I learned more, essentially.
And Kyle, talk to us a little bit, especially for people who don't already know a bit of your story. What was it for you that ultimately did it?
Yeah, well, so originally I was all in on Trump. I voted for Trump in the primaries in 2016. I was a Trump supporter from day one. And over time, it was a bunch of things, but starting in 2018 with the tariffs, I didn't really understand how tariffs work. And many Trump supporters and probably most people in the GOP still don't know how tariffs work because of Trump's repeated lies, and the media that they consume doesn't do a good job fact checking that and really driving the truth about tariffs in. Tariffs affected me directly with finished steel products in 2018. So I did start learning some things, and I started to look at Trump a little closer as time went on and Trump's behavior to me became more apparent. I really held my nose in 2020 to vote for him. After that, January 6th, I thought there was absolutely no way this guy was going to run again. I think he even said he wasn't going to run again. It would be, you wouldn't see him again if he lost. And so I just thought there was going to be no way. But then when the Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, started paying attention to geopolitics, and I really started to pay attention to Trump's record, especially the things that he said and his coddling of dictators in rejection of American democracy and democracies around the globe.
I'm curious, different issues affect different voters differently. Now, when Donald Trump a couple months ago was interviewed by the National Association of Black Journalists, and he did this thing where he said, you know, Kamala used to be black, but then she became Indian. Just to pick something, as Republican voters, historically Republican voters, does that sort of thing even matter to you guys? And maybe we'll go in the same order, Robert, Damian, and then Kyle. Or is that just sort of like, that's a style thing. I don't really care about that. It doesn't really figure into why he's not someone you would vote for. Just to pick an incident like that. Robert, did that do anything for you? Did you care about that?
Well, it wasn't that by itself. It was seeing this entire pattern of whether he's mocking the disabled, whether he's saying what he can do and can't do to women, and that was just one of a fire hose stream of all that we've seen. And so it wasn't one individual thing. It was just, this guy has no morals, no integrity, no character, and it's been on exhibition since he's taken office. And it's just only. So it's not one individual thing. It's just seeing it. By the time that term was done, I was like, there's no way I could ever support this guy again. I can't see how anybody else could. So it wasn't one thing. But so, yeah, that was important. But also to me, it's not even about issues. It's about our form of government is at stake. And so I believe that people are not realizing the danger we're in based on the fact that people are still focused on immigration or Israel or inflation or abortion. And all of those are just red herrings to let us think it's normal politics, that this is normal Republican versus Democrat. And that, I think, plays into their favor.
So in other words, it rubbed you the wrong way, but it wasn't like a major incident one way or the other. Damian, what about you? And it doesn't have to be just that one incident, but those sorts of incidents.
Well, David, that specific incident, just as a person, as an American, I thought was ridiculous. Like, it seems so outlandish to think someone couldn't have two or more nationalities in the country of immigrants. That just seems wild to me. And it's not the first time Trump has been outrageously disrespectful to someone or a group of people, or shown respect to a group of people that didn't deserve it. When he said the Presidential Medal of Freedom was more important than the Medal of Honor. That was ridiculous. Are you serious? Like 7% of our nation is veterans, and an extremely small percentage of them even getting nominated for the Medal of Honor. You know, to put those people in the same book as, Rush Limbaugh, I just found to be insulting on a personal level to me. I thought his presidency in 2016 did not have the decorum, did not have the professionalism that the president needed to present from the greatest nation in the world.
Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, so I thought it was disgusting. That's just un-American. Things like that. I don't really know how many things that he said like that over time, but it's a long pattern, and a lot of people like me weren't really plugged into the hyperactive political scene. And people kind of consume Fox News occasionally that are Trump supporters, and maybe not even every day. So that's just another instance that we can just point to and say that Trump's unfit to serve. He's un-American, and the parts of humanity or the voters that he's playing to with that language. It's just dangerous. He gives way too much oxygen to radicals and extremists, and just disturbing behavior.
I would just add, David.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
That even in today's news, there's stories of him saying that Latinos, such as myself, or blacks, would be out of their mind not to support him. He said
Yeah.
that about Jews as well. It's just it's the kind of rhetoric that is. I'm reading that story and it's in disbelief. I mean, I'm Mexican American heritage from Texas originally, and just to see that or to read that today, I'm like, it's just unfathomable to me.
That's interesting. I'm Hispanic in that I'm from Argentina and I'm Jewish. And I've said, when I hear Trump say this, it doesn't make me think, man, maybe I should support the guy. Like it repels me. It sounds like you're saying the same thing.
Yes. Yes.
Let me go in reverse order. So we'll start with Kyle this time, then go to Damian and back to Robert. Did you participate in the Republican primary? And who did you support? Who did you like of the Republicans that were running?
So in 2024?
In 2024.
Yeah, Nikki Haley. And I supported her very early on, the summer before, or I want to say of 2023. I supported Nikki Haley when she was at like 2% in the polls.
Okay. And then Damian, how about you?
Did not support the Republican Party this year. I found them to be appalling. I value honesty, and the amount of lies that I saw coming out of the Republican Party felt insulting personally as it's my value. It's something that's important to me as a core deep belief. And it's insulting to think somebody would be so blatant, lie, and spread all these things. It didn't matter which one. They all kind of supported Trump on the fake elector scheme and the 2020 election steal and all that good stuff.
So even like Chris Christie didn't appeal to you, even though he's been distant from Trump for a long time now.
So Chris Christie, he's done this before. He didn't have the support. If he'd have made it, I might have looked further into it, but he just looking at him, you just know he wasn't going to make it all the way.
Okay.
The moment I saw him, I knew he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, the 1% polling throughout the campaign did not suggest that he had a real shot.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Robert, how about you?
Well, I voted in the Pennsylvania primary. It was April 23rd, I believe, and I voted for Nikki Haley, even though she was no longer on the ballot for 7 weeks then. She dropped out in March, and she wasn't on the ballot. It was like a protest vote, and 156,500 other Republicans in Pennsylvania did the same thing. And part of it was because she had not, even when she dropped out, had not endorsed Trump. And I thought if she had, then I would have written in Liz Cheney. But instead, I thought, well, look, maybe she is going to hold to the integrity of standing up for what she had been saying her campaign. And then sadly later in May and then at the convention she did go ahead and endorse him. And but at that time I thought, well, she's standing up, and she's standing up for some remains of the Republican Party that is not drank the MAGA Kool-Aid. And
as far as that endorsement, I'm curious, Robert, and then I want to ask Kyle also, because both of you said you were Haley supporters. Does her endorsement of Trump mean anything to you?
Well, no, it just makes me disappointed in her and realizes she's just part of the same problem, the same way anybody that's either endorsed or been endorsed by Trump in the Republican Party. For me, the only people that I see as actual real Republicans anymore are Liz Cheney or anybody that's willing, Adam Kinzinger, and anybody that's willing to renounce Trumpism and MAGA.
Kyle, what about you? Did you care? Were you moved in any way by her endorsement of Trump?
No, I mean, it's just one of those things. Kind of expected if she wants to stay in the GOP. Ultra disappointed, but it didn't affect me at all. I don't think she had that pull with a lot of the voters, maybe 50% or something, but a good chunk of Haley voters decided that they were never Trump, and her, moving to Trump isn't going to change that. It doesn't matter what they say, what she says. It's just not going to happen. I understand why she did what she did. Disappointing to me, though.
Thinking a little bit about 2028, I know some Republicans who are voting for Kamala Harris with the idea that we will sort of reinforce the guardrails that have been established in this country. It'll be a relatively uneventful 4 years. With yet another Trump loss, their hope is that in 2028, it'll set the Republican Party up to sort of demagify and go back to something, right? Whether it's more like John McCain, whether it's more like Mitt Romney, I don't know. It depends on who you ask. What's your thought about if indeed Kamala Harris wins, What do you want to see in 2028? And is there a Republican in politics today that's sort of like your dream candidate in that you really feel like they represent your values? Maybe we'll start with Robert.
Well, yeah, today, as I said it before, to me, I would describe myself as a Liz Cheney Republican at this point. She's the only one for me that has any integrity left. She and the few others that are like her, like Adam Kinzinger, I do respect them both, and I'd love to see them take the lead in a post-MAGA Republican Party. I think I agree with Kyle that that's why Nikki is as disappointed as I am in her endorsement of Trump. I think that's what she did to preserve her ability to still be viable in 2028 in a post-MAGA Republican Party. I'm not sure that I agree with you that it's going to be like that in 2028. I believe that there are elements that post-Trump that doesn't even matter that are so awakened and so part of the party now. It's going to take longer than that. It's going to take the rest of the 20s to completely rid of not just MAGA but the Christian nationalism undertone to it that is really dug in and really dug in. That's zealots that are not going to give up that easily and going to continue through the rest of the 20s, as far as I'm concerned. And that 2028 may be just as big of a battle with somebody else representing MAGA at that point.
Damian, what do you think? What would you like to see in 28? And if you could pick any Republican, who do you like right now?
Well, at this point, I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party. It seems that they've shown their cronyism more than ever when it doesn't really matter what Trump says, that they all kind of just follow along. You know, the cats and dogs are being eaten kind of thing. So when I went with that, I kind of completely lost the Republican Party. They don't seem attached to honesty. They only seem attached to this gangster-like mentality that it's one for all and all for one, and we have to make this work together. I would be more aligned to see a more constitutional Republican, something that is aligned with what I thought a Republican Party was, which was small government, low taxes, and government outside of my business. It doesn't matter what my religion is, what I do sexually or whatever. None of that matters. The government should just be over there making sure murderers don't hang out. So honestly, if I was to name a person in Congress that I particularly like, I would have to say Jamie Raskin, because every time I've heard him speak, he speaks very aligned with what the Constitution states. And I appreciate that.
Kyle, how about you?
Well, let's see what happens if Trump loses and see who tries to step into the vacuum. But unfortunately, people like JD Vance are becoming really popular with like ultra MAGA people, especially down here. They really like his whole little book thing and all that other stuff. Like you were talking about Christian nationalism, that's a big thing. So you're going to have these hyper extreme, ultra political people that are really putting in the work until they're, for who knows how long. So we'll see what happens, but right now it just depends on what happens this year, and it depends on who tries to step in. I know there's a lot of DeSantis has a pretty big network online, so I'm not sure what that's going to turn into. I'm not a DeSantis supporter personally. I don't like his culture war stuff. I'm a limited government Republican. That's what I am. I'm not for the government expanding power over individual liberties. That's just not what I'm for. But we'll see what happens.
And is there anyone that you genuinely say, if this Republican became president, I would be very happy with that?
Right now, I'm not really sure, because as someone that supported Nikki Haley, I was really disappointed with her stance. So you really don't know what people are going to do. I'm just kind of playing it by ear right now.
When it comes to how you describe your political views, Robert, do you still describe yourself as conservative?
Yeah. I think I don't think I'm the one that has changed, and that the party has been dramatically overtaken and changed. So that I mean, I was a Reagan Republican, and so to see what it's become now is like, well, we were for free trade, now we're for tariffs. We were for being leaders in the world and for world stability, and now we're about withdrawing from NATO and withdrawing from treaties. We were for the party of like family values, and then Trump has made a mockery of that in the world's eye. So yeah, I don't think I'm the one that's changed. I think I'm still the same, pretty, maybe not ultra conservative. I'm more of a moderate Republican, and I have been the whole time. But I've been fiscally conservative the way Kyle was talking, and moderate on.
Damian, how about you? I mean, you talked a lot about small government and constitutionality. You still consider yourself a conservative?
I would, if I was to jump into politics today, I would consider myself a conservative Democrat, much like Tim Walz.
Okay. All right. And then Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, like Robert said, I don't think I've changed. The only thing I would say that has really changed in my mind, it's because of where I live in Alabama, is Roe versus Wade. It's not something I ever thought about. It's not something I would assumed would get overturned personally. Never thought it would happen. So I view myself as a conservative in the sense that I thought that was the way things were going to be. You look at the state of Alabama and the numbers, Alabama's already abusing it. I think 50% of the charges related to removing Roe versus Wade are in Alabama, and we have 2.5 million women out of 168 million women. 50% of those are in the state of Alabama. Many of them they don't even have evidence. It's on suspicion. I think a couple of them were on marijuana use, where they went in and said they took used marijuana at some point, and so they charge them for child endangerment because they had a miscarriage, even though there's not data to support charging someone on that for that. So
listen, gentlemen, extremely illuminating, 3 different paths, so to speak, out of Trumpism. We've been speaking with Robert Nix, Damian Salmon, and Kyle Sweetser. We're all going to be watching what happens in November, and I really appreciate your time and your insights today.
Thank you for having me.
thank you.